Today, I'm going to share with you books that can make you rich. So stick around. Hey, what's going on, BookTube on YouTube? I'm C-Tina and welcome to my channel. Most of us want to be rich, whether it be financially, spiritually, mentally, or even all of the above. And I strongly believe that if these books were studied and their advice had been applied, that you could be rich as well, because you will develop and become the kind of person that it takes to achieve what you want. The first book I want to share with you is Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway by Susan Jeffers. This is a very powerful book, especially for those who find themselves stuck because of fear. And I know there's some people out there that want to shoot BookTube videos and want to shoot, YouTube videos or do whatever they want to do, but they're just so afraid to do it. This book goes into, sharing the different levels of fear as well as the 5 truths about fear. It also goes into talking about how to get over the fears that we have. And I love this book. The next book I want to share with you is called Wooden on Leadership. Now, this book was introduced to me by my cousin, and I was super surprised by what I had read because I had never heard of him before. I've never heard of this book before. But this book goes into talking about, going into whatever you want to do with enthusiasm. And he goes into talking about friendships and loyalty and some really awesome values that it takes to be a leader. We are all leaders of our own life. And this book has really some surprisingly awesome tips. The next book I want to share with you is a book called The Success Principles by Jack Canfield. He's the co-creator of the Chicken Soup for the Soul books. And I have to say that this is by far one of my favorite books. It's all of the success books you've ever read roll into one. And it's also written in principles. I like principle number 16, where he goes on to talk about be willing to pay the price. He says that behind every great achievement is a story of education, training, practice, discipline, and sacrifice. You have to be willing to pay the price. And I thought that was super powerful to me. I mean, it is a hefty book, as you can see, but the value in here is amazing. Now, there aren't a lot of books out there that give me goosebumps, but this one sure did. And it's actually called Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. This book was written in 1938, and I believe that the advice that it gives here is timeless because so many of the things in here still apply. This isn't like a religious book per se, but it's a fictional interview with the devil. And in this book, Napoleon Hill goes in and he asks the devil questions. This book goes into talking about the real secret, the real deep down secret as to why people aren't successful. And he shares the 7 principles to attain physical, spiritual, mental freedom. And I'm curious, how many of you out there have ever read Outwitting the Devil? It is so good. If you haven't read it, I suggest you read it and you should order it. The next book I want to share with you is The Power of Full Engagement by Jim Loehr and Tony Schwartz. It goes into talking about what happens when you put all of you into something, all of your energy, all your mentality, all your heart and soul into something. He talks about how to manage your energy to do the things that you really want to do. He even brings up time management and having a low attention span, which, I could suffer from sometimes. But, this is a book that will really get you going in the direction that you want. I definitely have to read this book all over again. The next book I want to share with you is The Magic of Thinking Big. This book teaches us about how to not have average thoughts. He shares what happens when we start thinking bigger and what some people may believe to be unattainable goals and thoughts. But if you do, start thinking bigger, and let's say you don't attain the goal that you had in mind, think of the person that you're going to become on the way to the journey. You're going to be a totally different person, and think of all the value and the lessons that you're going to learn along the way. One of the things I like in this book is when he says belief Strong belief triggers the mind to figuring ways and means and how to. And believing that you can makes others place confidence in you. Now, if you really start focusing on what you want and you believe that you could do it, the how to do it will come to you. I mean, it's nuts, but I really love it. This book was really good. Now, this book that I'm gonna share with you is a book that I love as well, and it's called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Now, this book is a book that I believe that everyone should read. A person does not become a success on their own. There are people out there who help them along the way on their journey to success. It could be a person giving them advice. It could be someone who maybe wrote an article that you read, that actually helped you get to where you need to go. I mean, this book goes into, the people science. For example, it goes into like modeling the behavior of others. If you model the behavior of someone, they are more likely to feel close to you and like you because you're familiar. We tend to feel comfortable around people who are more like us. So if we learn to do this habit, we start attracting people to us. Even mentioning someone's name. This book goes in to say the sweetest sound to anyone is the sound of their own name. So remembering people's name, especially when you first meet them, and saying their name during conversation, they will feel closer to you, like you know them or like they know you. This book also talks about, beginning with the end in mind. When you start something, really start to really think about the end goal. Write it down if you have to and put it somewhere that you can see it every day. Put it in your wallet or something. It will help you to stay focused. So let me ask you, these little tips that I gave you that I got from this book, do you agree with the habits that are mentioned in this book? I mean, I gotta tell you, there's so many more interesting things here that you just have to see for yourself. It's nuts. Now, here's another book that I really enjoyed, and I have to say I had a lot of fun reading, and it's Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. He had a rich dad and he had a poor dad, and they both had very different views on money. He goes into talking about like assets and liabilities. He goes into talking about, the differences between employees and entrepreneurs. I mean, I had a lot of fun reading this book because he actually shares examples of the things that he learned growing up with his 2 dads. And these are things that he actually taught his kids as well. It's in the format of any kind of story that, that we would read, but it's very educational. The next book I want to share with you is The Speed of Trust. I love this book because it makes you see trust in a whole different way. He shares the 4 cores of being credible. I mean, like if we was to get into any kind of relationship, whether it be business or personal, and there's no trust there, the other person can pick up on that energy and in return not trust you. Because if you don't trust somebody, you're kind of being a little shady. You know what I'm saying? People can pick up on that. He goes into talking about intent and the importance of it. There's so much to learn in this book, and it is super informative. Now, here I have to say is another one of my favorite all-time books, and it's called 3 Feet from Gold by Sharon L. Lecter. I hope I said that right. Now, if you've ever read Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, he briefly tells a story of 3 Feet from Gold, but this book kind of expands into it. It's about a man who, his life is going down the crapper. He lost his job, his girlfriend up and leaves him, his brother is an addict who keeps asking him for money. So many things are going wrong for the guy in the story. But what ends up happening is he ends up surrounding himself with the right people, and and he applies what these people have taught him, and his life turns around. And of course things ain't easy, but he makes them work, and the lessons that he learns from these people that actually trigger him to change his life and his situation are amazing. I mean, even changing his perception about certain things, and that's really awesome to read here. And this is a book I definitely recommend. It's one of my all-time favorites. The next book holds a special place with me. It's the very first personal development book I've ever read, and it hooked me. And I think this is also another book that everyone should read, and it's actually called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I mean, he talks about our minds being magnetized with dominating thoughts in our head, which means, you know, we attract the people and things and circumstances that we think about the most. He even has a formula for self-confidence. I mean, this book goes into talking about how to develop a burning desire to achieve our goal, you know, that nobody's gonna stop you attitude, the importance of, you know, having a mastermind group. So pretty much the backstory of this is that Napoleon Hill spent 20 years talking and learning from the, you know, some of the most successful people of that time. And everything that he learned from them is written in this book. I love this book. I think I bought it like 3 or 4 times. This book is crazy. You guys should definitely check out Think and Grow Rich. If you read it, let me know what you thought about it as well. The next book I want to share with you is Mastery by Robert Greene. This book goes into talking about what it takes to be a master at anything and how to develop the skills. This book is super powerful and super informative. He goes into talking about the stages of how we go from just being an apprentice and learning something to then putting what we learned into practice and then becoming a master who can do whatever it is with freaking our eyes closed. I mean, it just becomes second nature to us. And, you know, this is a powerful book right here. These books, you know, that I've shared with you today are, you know, what I believe that can make us rich, whether it be financially or physically or mentally, you know, and they have so much value in them. And in order for us to be a success, we have to become the kind of person who can be successful. And these are the books that can do it. Guess what, guys? YouTube thinks that you should watch this video next. So don't forget to subscribe for more bookish videos, and I will catch you on my next video. Take care, guys.